Just a small update today. For some of you, I've done some casting of resin, and there's been a couple of people that have asked about this in the past, so I wanted to do this update today. So the way I cast my resin is to use a vacuum chamber, is to use a vacuum chamber. So what I do is I measure out my it's epoxy resin I mostly use now. Measure out the epoxy, mix it up in, add all my colours and everything in, and then I tend to split it. So say if I've got a cup of about this much, I tend to split it, make it into smaller amounts, 2 cups. 2 seconds. And try again. I think it's because I was cutting oak in here yesterday as well, and I can still smell the oak. So I'll have to give a good hoover around before I start. Anyway, I'll get moving on to another subject. So normally I degas. So I split it up into small quantities, and I don't have a pressure chamber. I'd love one, but just not bought one yet. Put it into the vacuum chamber, and I slowly pull the pressure up to 30. Oh God, 30 bar, which my vacuum chamber does no problem. So I put it up to that, and when you do that, the resin obviously rises up. So that's why I do it slowly, so that it doesn't rise and spill over the top. I've had that. And if it does happen, I used what was it? Thinners. I used cellulose thinners to actually clean the pot out, which cleaned it all away fine. That's just a little tip. But anyway, so yeah, you pull the vacuum up slowly on it, so that the bubbles, because all it is the air just wants to escape, so it pulls the resin up in the pots. So that's why I do it in smaller quantities. And I have on the epoxy, you've got about 40 minutes, 50 minutes work time. So it's fine. It's plenty of time to degas it, and all my pieces have no air bubbles. But the one thing that I've not been able to do, you'll remember a while back I did this pot with the pencils. I'll show you that. It is absolutely just full of bubbles. I'm not so worried about the bubbles at the top, you get that, but even inside it is full of bubbles. And that was, I didn't degas that because I thought, oh, I'll never be able to pull that amount of resin in. I thought it'll over, because I put it, wasn't this container, but it was a similar container, so it filled the whole container, and I thought, oh, I can't put that in the vacuum because it won't get all the air bubbles out and stuff like that. So I just sit with this decorative piece in the workshop. But then somebody wanted a pen, and they wanted something electrical themed, and he says, do you reckon you'd be able to do it? This, I'll have a go. So I cut up some wires. I just cut LED wires, and I popped them into a little pen blank holder. Let me get that. This is just a two pen blank holder that I use. So I cut the wires up into there, and I filled it up with the resin, because it would need to be filled in order to get a blank out of it. And I thought, oh well, I'll try putting it, because I knew fine that underneath all the electrical wires would trap the air, so it doesn't matter what you do, once you start to cut into it, you would then start getting bubbles. So I put it into the vacuum chamber, and it was quite a slow process. I basically pulled it till it took enough air out of it that I could put it onto full vacuum, and it cleared it. I actually got these blanks, and they are completely bubble free. I've actually turned one of these. I can't use the blanks, it's no good, because it just came out rubbish. You would need your barrel coloured, but then when you're cutting through the resin you get that smoky effect, and I didn't like it. And so anyway, we managed to sort out something else, but it made me think. I thought, right, if I can pull vacuum on that small amount in such a shallow container, would be able to try doing it on something a little bit bigger. So yesterday I got my pot, threw a load of pencils in it, and it's not a massive amount, as you can see. It only comes to about there. But I thought, right, I'll try degassing this first, and this fits into my vacuum chamber. So I did the same technique with this, and it has come out beautiful. I've checked all over. I mean, this bit will have to be sanded off, and I plan on putting it between two pieces of wood. Sorry, two small pieces of wood, and just making which would be half the size of that, and just making a small little box from it. So that would need to be sanded down. And actually, what I did is, because I pulled the vacuum on it as much as I could. I had it in the chamber in all probably about 40 minutes. That's it. That's the only thing with the vacuum chamber. It's time consuming. If I had a pressure chamber, it would be so much quicker, and I still want a pressure chamber, but this is just making do with what I've got, and I seem to be doing what I need to do with it, and that's the thing, you know. I would like to make big pots and just pour them and shove them in a pressure chamber. You don't have to think about them until the next day. But anyway, so I did that. So it took about a good 40 minutes, and there is some fine bubbles on the top, but I can see nothing around the pencils on the inside. I suppose I won't know until I actually start to cut into it, but I can't see anything, so I think it's worked out quite well. So yeah, it took a little while. I let it frizz up. I let it pull air to the top of this, and then just kept an eye on it, and then you just keep releasing some of the air just slightly, and it just keeps the bubbles down below. And like I say, I lost all the bubbles, and there were still a few bubbles bubbling, but I knew that it was at that point that the resin was going to start to turn, so I needed to take it out of the vacuum chamber. So released all the air, and then I actually used a bit of grease-proof paper, because the pencils would obviously have risen right up out of the resin. Put a bit of greaseproof paper around this, and then I sat it in there, and that kept it down. And then I thought, oh, doing that, it's going to trap any of the remaining air that was obviously still in there, but it didn't. It didn't, and it left no bubbles, so it did what it should have done. So it was just an update to let you know I'm managing to do this bits with just a vacuum chamber. If you've got a pressure chamber, or if you can afford a pressure chamber, it's a lot better to do. It's a lot quicker, a lot less time consuming. But yeah, just an update, let you know you could potentially make this. I've not tried something as big. I might do over the next few weeks, but I don't really need something that big. So alright, hope this helped. Thanks very much.